always need a shop dog. You got to carry on supporting places like these guys, you know, just getting simple jobs done like these, just so they can heat them up really easily and bend stuff for me, just for a few quid. But if you don't use places like these, then they're just going to disappear. My crank lurking around. Hello Jeepers, welcome to the Green Dot 319 channel. How are we doing today? We are at the machine shop, if you couldn't tell, because it's a bit noisy, so apologies for that. But we're at an old school machine shop, which is great. I mean, you can just look through the window there, guys. You can see all the work cards, rather than using a digital system or whatever, or computer system. This is an old school place with old work cards and things like that. We've come to look at my block then, which has been worked on for the past, well, it's been away for a while now. It's had some work done to it. It's pretty interesting actually, guys. This block, it's turned out all right actually. You guys will know then, the first thing that we did to it was it had to have the big crack repair done to it. So we had to have the big weld on the side, the cast iron repair, which had to be done by a specialist, because as we said, you can't weld cast iron on your own, because all that happens was when it cools, it contracts, shrinks and cracks, okay? So you have to have a specialist do it, and they'll heat it up like this till it's all red hot, and they'll weld it and then let it cool really slowly so that it all shrinks at the same time and you don't get cracks forming. So that was the first thing we had done to it, guys. And that went well. Brought it down to the machine shop then and started to have a look at it, and they started measuring everything. Found all the cam bores in it are good, which is nice, so that's all good. And then the tappet bores as well, all measured out nicely. So fortunately the tappets, we don't need to go for oversized tappets or anything like that. But the next thing we found then on it was that it did have some cracks in the top of it, guys, and we'll come in here, right? You could be able to see them. So on the top you can just see those little shiny bits there, okay, and those have been laser crack welded, laser crack repaired, okay, which is something I hadn't heard of before and I didn't know existed. I knew about cast iron repairs using, you know, heating the whole thing up and welding it, but I wasn't aware, and also lock and stitch as well, but I wasn't aware there's a thing called laser crack welding. And what it is then, guys, it's quite impressive. So it makes sense if you think about it. If you've got a small crack here, they gouge it out, so they remove all the metal around the crack, okay, so you've got a big pit there. And all they do is they feed in a tiny bit of filler rod, and because you're using a laser, you can make it extremely accurate. They just feed in a tiny bit of filler rod, just like you do in TIG, and then they zap it with a laser. And because you're using a laser, and because it's so accurate, it's not like welding it normally, where you put a whole load of heat into it. The laser hits just on the end of where where this filler rod is, just melts that tiny bit of filler rod, and so no heat gets put into the block, so you can weld cast iron without having to heat the whole thing up. And the other thing about it is, because there's no heat going into the block and into valve seats and things like that, things which are hardened, you don't damage the hardening of them. And if you, depending on which type of rod you use in it, you can put in different hardness, so you don't need to re-harden things like valve seats again. It's quite incredible. I hadn't heard of it, so I'll just put a link to that, guys, if you want to see the company that's doing that in the UK, doing this laser crack repairs, because it's quite impressive. I don't think it's particularly cheap. What was it? I think it was £80 an inch for it, okay? So it's not cheap, but at the same time, if they can easily repair blocks like this and these cracks, I mean, that's pretty good. So we've had our laser crack welds done there, so that's great. So there's going to be no leaking out of those valves, or from the jacket into the valves and into the head, and, you know, causing all sorts of problems. So we had that done, and then we had the cylinders bored out. They were 30 thou. They didn't go to 40 due to corrosion and pitting, so they went to 50 thou. So these are an unusual size at 50 thou. What I was able to get hold of was some NOS Silverlight pistons there. You can see them in the old packaging. And apparently you've got to be careful with some of this older stuff, because there can be a bit of variation in the diameter of these. So they wanted me to bring these pistons down before they did the final honing, which is what they've just done. But apparently these are actually pretty close to what they should be, so these are good pistons, but these are lovely. That's 100 quid for those pistons there with the with the wrist pins in them. So they're pretty nice. So those will go well. So they're going to be matched to the block. So we've had our valve seats done as well, guys. Yeah, decided not to do hardened valve seats on that because I don't think they're really required for the Jeep. And they seem to have turned out pretty nicely, actually. There's one exhaust which has got pitting around the top, but the actual face, you know, obviously the guys think looks pretty good, so they're not worried about that. So the last thing that this block needs now, guys, is the head, the top, just got to be skimmed off. It's never been skimmed, this one. You can see there are stamp markings in it. There's a B there, so they've got markings on it, so you can see that it's never been skimmed. They're just going to give it a light skim over, flatten the whole thing out, just remove some of the scratches and just a little bit of the corrosion out the top there, so we've got a really good surface for the gaskets when the head goes on it. But that's it on the engine pretty much, guys. You know, it's a lot of work to go into it, a lot of money as well, but it'll be worth it. I think it's going to be a really nice motor. I'm looking forward to putting this all together and getting it going again. Does the cutter aligns itself to the bore? Because it can float around.
Yeah, these two here are soft metal.
Yeah.
So they're guides, and they keep it running parallel.
Okay.
So it just follows the bore basically.
And do you reckon this is the sort of stuff that you can do at home? And if you get your own hone cylinders yourself, or does it have to be done in a machine shop? You know.
Well, yeah, you could do it at home, but you need a lot of equipment. Cause you need the hone, you need these stones, you need your measuring equipment, chronometers, and honing takes quite a long time to get the experience.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you've just set it to a size and it cuts to a size.
No.
It's gradually getting bigger.
Yes.
And I know when to stop.
Yeah, okay. It's all about feel then with it. Yeah. Drilling for oil, or not as the case might be. So when you measure with the dial gauge, are you you're checking the diameter, or are you checking for out around?
I'm checking the diameter.
Okay.
I do check it the other way, but it can't really go oval.
Okay, right. Because of the way it is.
Yeah. I'm checking the diameter. I'm checking when you're honing. You could potentially end up with the top bigger than the bottom, or the bottom bigger than the top.
Yeah. Okay.
Constantly check. Same power. That's basically down to how evenly you keep the hole.
Yeah, okay. So it's just a few tenths.
And you just keep checking until you get to the size you're aiming for.
And you're just going for standard at the moment, are you?
I'm going for, there's a 1/1000th of an inch tolerance on the nominal size usually.
Yeah.
And I'm going for the larger of the...
Okay.
Because the pistons are quite close to size.
Yeah. You've measured the pistons already.
And although they go in, the clearance is minimal.
Okay.
I'm giving them that extra to be on the safe side.
Do you find that these guys here, these are new old stock 1960s pistons? Do you find the tolerances on old pistons is better, worse, or the new stuff, or does it just depend? You know, because modern obviously
on the
manufacturer. Yeah. Like,
new old stock Heplite pistons and AE pistons were always very good.
Yeah.
Some of the new ones now that make pattern pistons are not so good. So
I was told that some guys making pattern pistons are not making them out of the right alloys, and they're having expansion problems with the Jeep. You know, it seems to be a Jeep problem.
Heplite always used to make good quality pistons. Now, the name Heplite was bought by a Chinese company, and they now make Heplite pistons, and they call them Heplite pistons.
Yeah.
And they put them in the old style boxes, and they print the boxes to look like old stock.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Somebody's producing Jeep heads at the moment, putting them in wooden boxes and writing remanufactured on them, but they're modern cast and they're crap apparently.
I mean, there are lots of manufacturers that make really good quality pistons.
Yeah.
Better than some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
The materials now, technology better. But there's also rubbish ones as well.
Yeah, that's what I've been finding, you know, this sort of stuff.
I've taken an extra 1,000 to an inch out of each corner.
Yeah, okay. So that was a thou now, yeah? An extra thou, okay. So you've got to prep the face, Steve, before just take off the top bit of rust, or just to...
It's just basically to get rid of any burrs or any height spots made by tooling or
Okay, yeah.
any spots that happen over the years. It depends on the condition of what they come in and also how they're stored. So
Yeah, right.
you just got to try and file it down a little bit.
Right.
And you just clean the face.
Okay. So as I was saying, I reckon this head has already been skimmed to about 40 thou, which people online are saying is approaching the sort of maximum you can go to. But I've seen ones. So one of the things is you can see there is sort of there's a gentle relief there,
Yes.
right? And this one's still got some of the relief left there. But ones I've seen online, which people have skimmed, it's removed all of the relief. So they're obviously skimming them more than this one has been skimmed, because otherwise this would all be gone. You know, it wouldn't just be this side. So you've got a proper edge here, not a joke bent ruler sort of thing here.
No, proper one. Got two of them, one long one, one short one.
This is the difference between, you know, doing stuff at home for yourself, isn't it, and actually having the proper tools. Yeah.
I mean, it's all well and good trying to do it at home, but it depends on how obviously your tooling is stored and depends how long and old they are.
Calibrated and everything.
So.
Dial gauge.
Here. This works in this is a fat. This is rather than metric, it's imperial.
Yeah, yeah.
So it works to foul.
Yeah, yeah.
Needle you see, so 1 0, 2 0. If I say I went down to where 90 and 10 is,
yeah.
So obviously 90 is smaller than 10. That would be about 4 foul.
Okay.
Alright. So as I can feel, it is a little bit proud in the middle.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I'll probably say it's necessary to get rid of that high point.
So guys, what do you reckon to that then? Pretty interesting stuff then, to see these old school machine shops still going then. I mean, you just have to look at that place to see there's a lot of experience and knowledge going on there. So like I said earlier, try and support these things, guys, because if you don't use them, they're going to get lost, okay? And we're going to lose this valuable resource of old school knowledge and ability as well. But that's it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Interesting. We're going to move on with this, get that block back and work on it still at home and start putting it all together and continue with the Jeep project. As I said, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Like the video if you like the video, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.